Hey guys, it's Joshua. So good to see ya. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we're going to be doing a nice little video on all the different Thai constellation variations and ways to identify and differentiate between them. A lot of these different variations have been out for quite a while now, many of them being several years, but I still feel like there's a lot of confusion on how to identify them, kind of the characteristics that each one of them has. And I feel like it's also very easy to just kind of clump them all into one category and just say, oh, they're all Thai constellations. At the end of the day, they are all Thai constellations. They all originated from the same plant, but there are so many different kind of nuances to them that I think are really worth taking a look at. The goal of this video is to make it easier to kind of discern between all of them, so hopefully being able to see each specimen one by one will make it easier to kind of identify and make sure that you're getting what you're paying for. One of the things that is really nice about the Thai constellation variations is that they do tend to be very stable in stem propagation. So for example, if you had a Monstera platinum and you chopped it, you will get a platinum. It will look very, very similar, and it'll also have the same sort of morphology, which is really nice. Thai constellations are very stable when it comes to that. I think because of that, giving each of these variations a name is very appropriate because they do tend to be very stable. You don't really have to worry about your legacy, for example, being propagated and turning into a low-colored Taikon. Like, they don't really do that, which is really nice. The first one that we're going to discuss today here is the Monstera Platinum. I'm going to be looking at photos of the plants like on my computer while I discuss them to make it easier to kind of describe them. But the Platinum is a really unique one because it is finely textured throughout the entire leaf. That's really what this mutation or this variation is known for, is having really fine, very small variegation that is very flecked. It's very misty, almost hazy in appearance. And what is really nice about the Platinum too is that it has this really unique kind of slight dwarf shape to it, so there's a morphological aspect to it as well. The Platinum tends to be a little bit more skeletal when you get it mature, and so the fenestration tends to be much more pronounced than, say, another type of Taikon that may have more fat kind of leaves. It is very beautiful, and the slight dwarf shape makes it really attractive too, because you don't really get a super long and kind of unruly plant. It stays nice and compact when grown under ideal conditions. And yeah, it's just a really great one. I think this one is really easy to identify because the variegation tends to be very uniform when it comes to that fine speckling. It's really nice. The one thing about this plant is that there can be a lot of variation when it comes to the amount of color. The type of variegation, with it being very finely speckled and very hazy appearing, that tends to be stable throughout platinums, but the amount of color, like the actual amount of white, tends to be different. So you can find platinums that are more on the greener, more muted side, and you can find really bright platinums with very kind of high color whites that is almost similar to Legacy, which we'll discuss next. There are new kind of mutations that are coming out with Platinum. The one that I actually have here that I can show you guys, this is a Platinum Dwarf Cup. So I don't know if you guys can see this in the video, but the leaf has this unique kind of bowl cup shape. You can see that. All the leaves express it, which is really cool. Here's an example of the variegation so you guys can see. It's very fine. This one has a bit more elbow splotching, but you can see the fine textures on there. This one's really interesting because it stays nice and small. As you can see, the leaf is not bigger than my hand, and I'm hoping it stays this way. This is a new mutation that came from Thailand. I have a few pieces that I'm growing out, but it's really unique. The next one that we're going to discuss is Monstera Legacy. I really like this one because I feel like it merges a lot of my favorite aspects of the different variations into one plant. So as you can see from this photo, it has this kind of hazy, fine speckling, but in addition to that, which is kind of a trait that comes from more of the platinum side of things, you get this really beautiful, thick, white, creamy splash on top, like larger, solid, variegated sections, and you get a lot of this really unique bluish mid-level variegation color when it only is on one side of the leaf and not on both sides, which is when you get that white color, that pure white color. It's really unique. I think it does a great job of merging the platinum's kind of fine haziness with the white snow's more bigger, splashier kind of color. It's really nice. In person, they are gorgeous. It's literally amazing to see how much variegation can be on these plants. And surprisingly, I don't really see too many of them here in the United States. I've imported a few, I've sold a few to friends. I just sold one last month to a good friend. His is doing really great. I'm hoping to bring in a few more of them because I just really like them, and they tend to be very consistent and high color, which is good. There are lower color ones that you can find at a cheaper price point, but I really do think that this is one that you'd want to kind of splurge on because of the variegation. The leaf is just, gorgeous, and it's very consistent as well. The next one that we're going to discuss here is the Monstera White Snow. It is a really unique Monstera. I love how blizzardy it looks, and for me, when I'm looking for white snow, I typically tend to look for more of that blizzardy color because I think that it's appropriate to the name, white snow, because it looks like snow. And that's really kind of what differentiates it from the other Thai variations, because it has much more rugged, chunky variegation. Think like the appearance of hail. It kind of looks like that, or large chunks of snow, rather than the super fine platinum or the legacy, which tends to also have more of that haziness color. White snow tends to have less of that creamy yellow color and more of that white kind of cooler tone to it. I don't know if lighting can affect kind of the shade, because I've seen some that are definitely much more creamy than they are white, but for the most part, a lot of what I see with white snow is very cool tone whites, rather than like the creaminess that legacy often tends to have. In contrast, green snow, which is another unique mutation, green snow is very similar to white snow. It does have that kind of larger, chunky white, but it tends to be more on the warmer, kind of greener yellow side rather than like a cool white. So here's a good sample of that. You can see it does have the fine texture, but much more of this larger, kind of chunky, white, blizzardy appearance. In Legacy, it tends to be much more bigger, more kind of elegant splotches of white, rather than the really chunky, rugged sections. It's a really unique plant. This is one that I just divided from my mama. This is going to go to my friend Nikki soon, once it's nice and rooted. I think this leaf shows it really well. Yeah, you can see kind of that chunkiness. So this is the green snow. It's a really good one. This next one that I'm going to show is the Monstera Creme Brûlée, another unique Thai variation. I'm just going to show you guys here so that you guys can take a look for yourself and see what the pattern looks like. To me, a good creme brulee tends to have more variegation than green. Not only that, but the color of the variegation is also much more creamy than a typical Thai Con. So you can see here in these kind of sections, the white appears to be very dominant with the green kind of fading in. It almost looks like the Monstera is white with green variegation, if that makes sense, rather than it being green with white variegation. So the variegation is very dominant in this one. This did not come from the Chumlee line. I believe he's the originator of the Monstera Creme Brûlée, but this is very similar to what you would get if you got one of his plants. So you could call this a fake creme brulee, but for me, I think it fits kind of the descriptors and the characteristics that creme brulee tends to have. So I won't say that this is a creme brulee, but if we're looking at it from, the perspective of what traits a creme brulee has, this definitely fits it. Although it may not be, from the genetic line of the Chumlee original creme brulee. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to try and show you guys these at the same time. Here is the platinum mutation that I have, and here is the creme brulee. So hopefully you guys can see the difference side by side. Much more creamy, much more white, Yeah, you can see the one here on the left looks like a green Monstera with white variegation, and this one looks more like a white Monstera with green variegation splashed in. So hopefully that makes sense, that kind of description. Another one that is really popular and kind of newish to the scene is the Monstera Ivory. This is very similar to the Creme Brulee, but it tends to have more, I would say, well delineated sections of variegation from the full cream white to the mid-level kind of bluish color to the solid green. In this Monstera, it becomes very easy to see the layers of those like individually. It's not quite as mixed or marbled. It's much more, I would almost want to say, sectoral in that aspect, because the colors are just in larger chunks rather than finely interspersed on the leaf. Hopefully this picture shows kind of that in action, but it's a newer one. I haven't really seen many of them offered, although I have seen a lot of kind of the Thai sports that people are finding in big box stores. A lot of them are having this color, so I actually feel like this one might be more of a common one. It's still really cool, but if we're going to get really, you know, hyper specific about the sports, this is kind of what differentiates it from the other ones. This next one is a big favorite of mine. This is one that I've always really liked. This is the Monstera Aria Tricolor. It's a sport variegated Aria Thai Constellation. So it's basically a Thai Constellation that has had some Aria coloration added to it. It's very beautiful. This one is specifically from the Miracle line, and then I have another one that is a sport vine. Actually here, you can see the color is a bit different, similar but different. I think this one hardens in much more creamy, as you can see that. So yeah, basically a Thai Constellation can have many different kinds of mutations added to it in terms of color. It can produce yellow, they can even produce mint as well, and all of the others. I think there's a lemon lime Thai Constellation that is out there too, so these are really cool to have in the collection. This newest leaf is kind of scaring me a bit because it's almost all white on one side, but yeah, they're really awesome. I love how they burn in. It's really nice to see them evolve over time, because this green will eventually become like this yellow here, so yeah. This I'm kind of hesitant to put in the video, but it's one that I've seen enough times to where I feel like I have to. It's the Monstera Starlight, also known as the Cassiopeia. It's really nice. I love this kind of fine variegation, this almost uniform static look that you don't often get with many plants. It's very geometric in nature, and the leaf shape is kind of shrunken, much more thin with kind of shallow fenestrations. It's really unique, but I have not seen one yet that is stable. I've seen plants that can produce multiple of them, but they don't come in consecutively. There's probably like one spot on the stem that has the sort of genetics, you can call it, or the variegation to create that leaf, but it's not in the entire plant. And so I'm very hesitant to say that it should be its own variation, because it's kind of just a unique one-off thing. If someone can isolate that and produce a plant that only produces starlight leaves, then I think I would be a little bit more accepting of it. But for now, it's just kind of a unique phenomena, you can say, that has become a little bit more frequent and more obvious, or more present. Along with all of the different types of variegation that Thai Constellation variations can have, there's also a lot of really cool morphological mutations that I think are really unique. This is one that I've been wanting to show for a while. It's kind of hard to show on camera, so I hope that I do a good job at displaying the plant. But this, ta-da! This is my Monstera Medusa. This is a really unique one. I believe this kind of mutation has actually been out for like either 3 or 4 years now, I want to say. So I haven't really seen many of them here in the United States, but it has been one that has been floating around overseas for a while now, but I believe they're just becoming more accessible at a more accessible price point. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys some close-ups of this plant so you guys can see. So obviously it's really curled in. I nicknamed this one Air Wrap because it kind of looks like what hair often does when you're using the Dyson Air Wrap, you know, that really cool air curler that they have. So it's just really beautiful. It's like the curls of hair. And what's unique about it is on the back, you get this really cool kind of tattoo-esque protrusion. I hope that's coming through on camera. I think this leaf might show it better. If you guys can see that here, you can see it has this really unique, you can feel it too, this texture on the back. And I believe that is what is causing the contortion. There we go. That shows it pretty well. It's really funky. It has a similar kind of morphological mutation to the Monstera tattoo, except this one, of course, is a Thai Constellation. It's not a green or solid green Monstera. Very, very tight internodal spacing, as you can see, so it might be difficult to prop. But when they mature like this, they get really impressive. So here we go. There's the Medusa. Another morphological mutation that's really unique is the Monstera Fishbone. This one, as you can see here, has this really unique kind of skeletal pattern. And the way the fenestration presents makes it look like kind of the skeletal shape of like a fish, which is really unique. It does have that kind of fishbone look, so I think that it's named very appropriately. It's really nice when you have a few fenestrations because at this stage it becomes very kind of apparent, that sort of fishbone shape, but as it matures and starts getting like multiple holes in the center, not just one single set of fenestrations, it gets really kind of unique and grotesque and the shape really kind of evolves. So this is one that I actually think is better to keep on the juvenile side because the kind of characteristic of the fishbone shape is much more apparent when it's at this stage rather than super mature or super young. This kind of same idea of keeping it at a semi-juvenile stage is also apparent in the Monstera Cupcake, or the cup mutation of the Thai Constellation. It's really cute. I love the bowl shape to it, and I think that it looks best with leaves that are not fenestrated because you get more of that very obvious cup. When they get bigger, you know, sometimes the fenestrated parts can kind of curl in different ways, and so that cup shape is not the most obvious. So I really like that one when the leaves are juvenile because it becomes very easy to see the cup shape. I think it matches the descriptor much better. So yeah, those are all of the different Thai Constellation variations that I'm going to describe today. There may be a few that I'm missing because there are a lot of new ones that are coming onto the market. If you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe and like. I'm hoping to continue making more videos along with all of the stuff that I'm doing on my website and with my Instagram. If you guys don't already follow that, that's where I post most of my daily updates if you guys want to see more of the plants. Also, a little side note, if anyone is interested in seeing all of the different sports all in one page, I have started a new website. It's called the Rare Monstera Archive. You can find it at theRareMonsteraArchive.com. It'll kind of detail some of my experiences growing these plants, you know, in blog format, and it'll also have full HD pictures of all of the different sports. I think it's really nice to have all of those photos all in one space that you can see because there isn't really any sort of single entity or page that does a good job at explaining all of the new sports and staying up to date. So hopefully you guys can make use of that and find that as a good resource for your sport hunting or collecting or whatever it may be. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope you guys all have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye.